This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Another night of protests at UConn, only a day after arrests were made and tents were hauled off. Thanks for joining us tonight on the Fox 61 News at 10. I'm Sarah Sanchez. Student demonstrators gathered once again in stores. They're protesting the university's response to the encampment and still calling for the school to disclose and divest any investments into military weapons in Israel. Fox 61's Jake Garcia is live on the UConn campus in stores. So Jake, what's it like out there right now?
Well, Sarah, it's calm out here right now. This is where the protest started. I want to give you some perspective. The protest happening just feet from where their encampment was just days ago, where it stood for 5 days before it was taken down yesterday morning. Now, the group calling for change to school leadership. More than 100 people made up of students, faculty, and community members gathered on UConn's campus Wednesday to protest the arrests of 24 students and a former student Tuesday morning. The group wanting to send a message to the university.
We want this protest to signify to the university that, one, we're not scared, we're not intimidated, and we are here and we're going to continue using our voices to amplify our message.
Just after the protest started, campus police approached students, asking them not to block the walkway. Minutes later, the protest moved a short distance away, hundreds of feet from where their encampment once stood, calling for UConn's president, Radenka Merrick, to step down. The president released a letter today addressing the protests and the arrests for the first time, saying in part, quote, "There are countless ways for students, faculty, and staff and others in our community to exercise their constitutional right to free speech that do not violate university policy or practice." But students believe it was done to stop their protests.
They claim that they support free speech and claim that the reason they had to take everything down was just because of the tents. Clearly, the university isn't thinking things through, and they're just doing this as a publicity stunt to just further, reduce student voices.
Students then marched to Gully Hall, where school administrators' offices are located. Police followed the group as they made their way across campus to continue monitoring the protests. Organizers say the number of people who showed up means something.
I believe there's a huge turnout now because we're angry as ever to see students treated this way, especially being intimidated by the cops as well.
And the protests remained peaceful tonight and no arrests were made. Now, the group says that they plan on protesting in the days and weeks to come as seniors prepare for graduation ceremonies that start Friday. Reporting live in stores, Jake Garcia, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Thank you, Jake. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank for a first look at the forecast. It was kind of a warm day, but man, those temperatures dropped out there tonight.
Yeah, and it's going to get even warmer as we head into the day tomorrow. We're looking at highs between 75 to near 80 after a cloudy start to the day. So when you wake up in the morning, it kind of looks similar to today. But once that sun breaks out, man, temperatures are going to take off like a rocket. So we're looking at 54 right now in Hartford. This is the chill that Sarah was talking about. Upper 40s right now in Groton, and we're looking at overnight lows that will settle back into the upper 40s to around 50 as we head towards daybreak. And towards daybreak, we'll see increasing clouds. There's a slight chance for an isolated light shower or a sprinkle, but most of us stay dry. After that cloudy start, we break for sun. It may take until afternoon, especially for some in southern and southeastern Connecticut. But once we break for sun, look at those numbers between 75 to near 80 as we head through the afternoon. It will be a bit cooler at the shoreline with highs in the lower 70s, and we stay dry heading into tomorrow night. By Friday and Saturday, we're still dry, but temperatures won't be as warm. So for this early summer preview, it is one and done before some cooler air settles back in again. And then we are timing out some showers as we head into the weekend. We've got your full forecast coming up in just a bit, Sarah.
Thank you, Rachel. New developments from Stamford now, where the father of a toddler found buried in a park last year is facing even more charges. The body of Liam Rivera was found in a shallow grave in Cummings Park in January 2023. Stamford police say evidence showed his father, Edgar Gomez, may not have been telling the truth about what happened in the days leading up to the boy's death. He's now charged with cruelty, hindering prosecution, evidence tampering, risk of injury to a minor, and more. OSHA says a home health care company failed to protect a nurse who was killed during an appointment with a patient. That patient was charged with her murder last week. Joyce Grayson was killed last October. Her body was found at a halfway house in Willimantic. OSHA ruled the company that employed Grayson, Alara Caring, did not have effective safety measures for its employees and is now recommending the company be fined. The patient she was visiting that day, Michael Reese, is a convicted felon. He faces murder charges over Grayson's death. An OSHA director for the Hartford area released a statement in this report saying, quote, Alara Caring failed its legal duty to protect employees from workplace injury, going on to say they didn't have, quote, effective measures in place to protect employees, and it cost a worker her life. Alara has a little over 2 weeks to formally respond to this OSHA citation. In a statement, the company called the citation unwarranted and says it plans to contest it vigorously. Police in New Haven have arrested a man wanted in a deadly shooting last October. The family of the victim spoke today, sharing the grief they felt since his death. Police arrested Luis Santiago. They say he shot and killed Tyrese Blue Jr. Police say Blue was found shot in the chest near Cedar and Cassius Streets. He died at the hospital. Despite the arrest, Blue's family is still struggling at the loss of their loved one. He left behind a son who was only 2 weeks old at the time of his killing.
My justice is in heaven. I can't get my son back. I can't see him. His baby can't play with him. The person that took that gun and shot my son, God will have his day with him.
Police say there could be more arrests. Santiago is being held on $3 million bond. In Bridgeport, the elections may be over, but the legal saga is far from over. The Bridgeport ballot scandal has reached the state's highest court, and today justices heard opening arguments in the case to determine whether an old law can be used to arrest alleged Bridgeport ballot harvesters Wanda Jeter and Anita Martinez. Fox 61's Matt Karen has a wrap-up of today's proceedings in the state Supreme Court.
Well, Fox 61 was the first station to tell you about the group Fight Voter Fraud Inc.'s efforts to force the arrest of Bridgeport City worker Wanda Jeter and City Councilor Anita Martinez. Their case was rejected by several lower courts, but they appealed, and it was granted, getting the chance to argue that case before the state's top 7 judges.
It seems there's an unwillingness to prosecute. What are we waiting for?
Arguing on behalf of Fight Voter Fraud, attorney Cameron Atkinson pleaded his case on why the decades-old Connecticut state statute should be enforced. The law effectively says we, the people, can compel a judge to issue an arrest warrant.
There are legitimate claims of election fraud in this world. And when our officials, particularly in Bridgeport, are more interested in investigating the people who leaked the security footage that depicted these things than holding these people accountable for what they did, there are questions to be asked.
The Honorable Andrew McDonald responded with skepticism, questioning if forcing the arrest of Bridgeport City worker Wanda Jeter and City Councilor Anita Martinez, both accused of election misconduct caught on camera in the recent mayor's race, would actually be counterproductive to ongoing state investigations.
Under your scenario, if these individuals were arrested before that investigation was completed, there could be a result of the charges being dismissed and the chief state's attorney being stymied in his ability to investigate this crime.
Rebutting the argument of Fight Voter Fraud was the state of Connecticut, whose attorneys claimed enforcing that old law would do nothing to ensure free and fair elections.
What they're trying to do here is initiate criminal process, and the outcome of criminal process will only be the arrest and perhaps imprisonment of individuals. It will have no reflection on the outcome of an election.
In response, the justices probed the state on the appropriate mechanism for election accountability.
If I have a right to a clean election or election without this kind of shenanigans, then there has to be some kind of a remedy available to me, or the right is meaningless.
The remedy for that specific concern actually was afforded here insofar as the election was thrown out. There was a new election.
The justices will likely take a few weeks before issuing a written ruling. And Fight Voter Fraud Inc. tells me that if the ruling is not in their favor, they will consider switching their focus from the judicial system to demanding election reform from state lawmakers. Of course, the session wraps up very soon. Reporting in Hartford, outside the state Supreme Court, Matt Caron, Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
Outside the courtroom, the group We the People rallied over what they're calling election integrity. The group says they want to see resolution here, both in the form of arrests of the two women and changes before the next election.
We want our votes counted and counted properly. What happened in Bridgeport is a clear example of our votes not counting.
Again, it could be several weeks before a ruling's issued by the state Supreme Court, though legal challenges will likely follow that ruling. Also rallying in Hartford today, another group, immigrants and social justice advocates. They marched on the Capitol building, putting their weight behind several legislative proposals, from worker safety to expanded health care for immigrants. It's the last 6 days of a legislative session. This group was one of many fighting for lawmakers to hear their bills before the session ends.